What if I gave you the option to venture into futuristic land, where the only limitation is your imagination? And in this new realm, you can meet up with friends, play games, and even earn a living while you're at it. This is just a small window into the future promised by the Metaverse. So what's all the hype about? Well, the Metaverse is expected to grow at over 40% over the next decade and bring in a whopping $829 billion in revenue in 2028. And even Facebook, one of the world's biggest companies, changed its name to Meta. So there's something going on. Partly responsible for the rapid growth of the Metaverse is cryptocurrency. There have been huge gains in a range of Metaverse tokens, but also scams and huge losses. Tech-savvy teens have been making millions while you sleep. Okay, so this all sounds pretty interesting, but how do you actually invest in it? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where I aim to tackle big topics in a plain and simple way. I want to cut the bull and give you clear and unbiased information so you can make better investing decisions. Today, I'm not going to be saying whether or not the Metaverse is here to stay or whether it's going to be really big. It's not an area of my expertise, because the truth is there are just way too many unknowns. And on that note, just a disclaimer that none of the following is financial advice. What I am going to do, however, is break down the 7 ways you can invest in the Metaverse and lay out the method as well as the downsides to each of these options. That way, you can get a sense of what options suit your risk profile. Okay, so with these 7 options, we're loosely running from safest to riskiest. So your first and arguably safest option is to invest in a broad basket of traditional companies building the Metaverse. One leading example is the Roundhill Bull Metaverse ETF, which allows you to get easy access to a diversified portfolio of stocks currently involved in building the Metaverse, either directly or indirectly. And these include Meta, Nvidia, Microsoft, Roblox, and Unity Software, companies which are addressing key themes such as VR, hardware, payments, and digital assets. Okay, so how do you invest in a Metaverse ETF? Well, you can invest in it via an online stockbroker, and if you're based in the US and you want to invest in that ETF, you'll need your broker to have international trading access. There are other Metaverse ETFs to check out too. Well, this is probably the safest play. It's also a long-term hold, so you're unlikely to get significant upside in the short term. For example, if the Meta share price, say, rises 10% over the coming year, it will not have a really big impact on the Metaverse index itself, as Meta makes up less than 10% of the index. Like in any ETF, you tend to need a lot of big winners to move the needle. It's also worth noting that this ETF doesn't invest directly in cryptocurrency either, which we'll get to later. Your second option would be to invest in individual company stocks which are involved in building the Metaverse. You could start by researching some of the companies within the index that I mentioned before. You could also focus on key individual themes that you're interested in, whether it be platforms, gaming, or graphics cards. Then use that to pick a few potential winners. And then you can invest via your online broker the same way that you access ETFs. I've left some research below which explores these themes and potential investments within each category. The downside here is that picking individual stocks allows for more targeted exposure, but also more volatility and risk than the Metaverse ETF. So you'll have to develop your own thesis around how certain investments will play out. Okay, so this is where things start to get interesting. We're crossing the chasm from traditional finance into the world of crypto investment options for the Metaverse. The third and arguably least risky of the crypto routes to get exposure to the Metaverse is through Ethereum. This option is good for those who want to get broad exposure to the Metaverse theme alongside many others. Why? Well, many of the biggest Metaverse tokens are built on Ethereum, so it stands to benefit as the Metaverse grows. And many consider Ethereum as a decentralized app store. The more apps, the better it is for the network. And of course, Ethereum can take a slice of the transaction fees. While Ethereum is easy to purchase, you can invest in it on all major cryptocurrency exchanges. One downside is that, like the Metaverse Equities ETF, only a portion of Ethereum's potential future growth will be fueled by the growth of the Metaverse. You're not getting pure exposure to the Metaverse, and like any crypto, Ethereum has its risks too. Okay, number 4. Just like there are index funds in the traditional finance world, there are also crypto index funds for the crypto world. There are a few different ways to get exposure to a Metaverse index fund. Hopefully your exchange might have an option for you. For instance, in Australia, CoinSpot offers a Metaverse bundle. And there's also a native cryptocurrency metaverse index called MVI, which allows you to get exposure to the top metaverse tokens in a single transaction. And tokens include Illuvium, Sandbox, Axie Infinity, Decentraland, and Engine. This is a more complex method so far because you'll have to use a decentralized exchange. You'll need to buy Ethereum, transfer it to your MetaMask wallet, and then use a decentralized exchange or the Index Coop website. And I'll leave an article down below on how to do this. While crypto index funds like MVI give you broad exposure, you should also note that these are still fairly risky products. Themes in the crypto world can come and go really quickly, so you'll have to treat this like you would a thematic ETF. This is why I would say it's slightly more risky than Ethereum, given the market cap of the underlying metaverse tokens are relatively small and volatile. Okay, now our fifth way to invest in the metaverse is to invest directly into crypto metaverse tokens. And it's worth noting that there are a variety of token types in this category. For instance, Gala Games is a developer studio token. There are also ecosystem tokens like Efinity, which is a scaling solution for Engine, and there are also game-specific tokens like Axie Infinity. It's worth taking the time to consider some of these nuances in your research process. To assist in this process, we can use CoinMarketCap to sort through these tokens. And if you take a look at the metaverse and gaming categories, you'll notice they have many of the same tokens. This is because in crypto, the lines between NFTs, metaverse, and crypto gaming are pretty fluid. So you'd be looking at large cap metaverse tokens like Axie Infinity, Sandbox, and Decentraland as the top 3 most established and highest market cap projects. So how do you invest? Well, you can invest in these tokens directly through cryptocurrency exchanges like Binance and Coinbase. The obvious risk here is that you're betting on a single project being successful. Throughout history, we've seen that even some of the best games have been rapidly replaced by new ones. Many of the metaverse projects are in very early stages. The graphics aren't great, they're very underdeveloped, and some tokens represent hypothetical game concepts. Our sixth way to invest in the metaverse would be to buy small to mid-cap crypto metaverse tokens. I'm not going to recommend any of these to you because I'm definitely not an expert in the area and they're all really highly speculative. But these would be the highest risk, highest return options as they're so small in size. If you do end up striking the jackpot like in Axie Infinity, then some of these could be huge, and of course the odds are stacked against you here. Depending on the project, you may need to use a decentralized exchange to get access to these tokens. The obvious downside here is that a lot of these could go to zero. Your final option to invest in the metaverse is to invest in in-game and in-world digital assets like digital land and collectibles. Think like digital real estate, avatars, wearables for your avatars, in-game items, art, and so on. So put simply, there are crypto tokens like Axie Infinity, but within Axie Infinity, there are also digital assets that you can invest in. Most of the major metaverse realms offer a variety of options. In Axie Infinity, you can buy Axies starting at around $60. You can also buy a range of items and land. The cheapest parcels of land are selling for around 3 Ethereum or 10,000 USD when I last checked. The highest listed plots were listed for $2 to $3 million. Whether there's a lot of demand for those is to be seen. So why buy digital land, you might be thinking? Well, it tends to have some utility in regards to the game or project. In Axie Infinity, you can use land to gather more resources and fight special battles. In Sandbox, you can host and play games, host events, build galleries, and social hubs on your patch of turf. You can also theoretically monetize these experiences. Also, these lands are scarce assets, so there is the potential for the price to go up should the appeal of the land and the total players in the ecosystem increase, just like a regular population boom in the real world. There are a lot of cons I can see to this type of metaverse investment, however. I would put to you that it is the most risky play on this list. Not only are you subject to investors' perspectives on the game itself, but you're also subject to the forces of supply, demand, and incentives that exist within the economy of that metaverse project, and that can make the outcome very hard to predict. For example, in Axie Infinity, Smooth Love Potion, aka SLP, which is an essential in-game item in the game, has fluctuated wildly over the past year given changing supply and demand dynamics. How risky these underlying digital assets are depends a lot on the corresponding tokens. For example, if you're buying land in a leading established project like Axie Infinity, this may be likely lower risk than buying land in a low-cap Metaverse token. Just like all things investing, your choices will reflect what type of investor you are, your time horizons, and ultimately your level of conviction for the metaverse. This is a space where you really should have some good insights and knowledge before making an investment. If you believe that the space is currently in a bubble, then you might hold off investing or invest in some of the safer equity plays. After all, it was many decades after the birth of the internet before we got our mammoth internet companies of today like Google and Facebook. Technologies need time to evolve and grow, and often their true potential lies beyond the horizon. Or on the other hand, perhaps you're a shorter-term investor and think there's upside on the horizon. You might look to invest in some metaverse crypto tokens and so on. Potentially, some of the big future winners are out there now. Ultimately, what is clear to me is that the underlying technology of cryptocurrency has created an explosion of potential and opportunity in the space. As more companies, money, and people pile into the space, it will be interesting to track how sustainable this growth really is. In any case, this space is certainly one to keep an eye on. Thanks everyone for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button, and any questions, please leave a comment below.